follow me down, head into the unknown, down the rabbit hole, where it stops no one knows. We're going down. We're going down. We're going down. We're going down. Do you dare to follow me down? Head into the unknown.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Wednesday. It's a good day. Uh, mm, Beautiful weather here in BC. A little bit overcast, but Harley is like super hot. I don't know, like he's panting like super hot. He's okay. He's just super hot. I don't know why he just doesn't go down to the creek, honestly. Melissa, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say hi to people for a minute or two or 20, whatever. Hopefully, everybody had a good week. I wasn't live yesterday, I think. We took the day off yesterday. I think. Pretty sure. I thought yesterday was Monday. Dodie, hope you made it back. Hey, Angelina and Patriot Girl. Hey, DEA. Hopefully, you can stay awake. I hope so too. Hey, Carrie Bailey and Carla. Grey Wolf, good to see you. Hey, Kimber. Mustang Girl, good to see you. Hey, Cheryl. And oh, yep, there she is. Look at that. Dodie made it back. Yay. Hey, Lynn, TJ's mom. If I fall asleep, someone throw a rock at me. I'm whipped. I'm still cutting grass, 4 acres with an electric self-propelled lawnmower. Are you out of your mind? That's a lot. That's a lot. Um, Sarah Wilson went missing at 7:30 a.m. this morning. I did get the emergency alert sent to me. She has been found safe. Good to know. Truth and Beauty, great to see you. And who else? Yeah, everybody's talking about Sarah. She was found safe. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Hey, little black bear, good to see you. I just want to know if RCMP sent it across Nova Scotia. So it was an emergency alert. I don't think it was a vulnerable persons alert. It wasn't an Amber alert. So I don't know. I don't know. Hmm. Do 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 do. Feel like this takes forever. Probably does. Violet Boy Ian, good to see you. Hey, Shannon. Okay, Gas Big L. So, hey, Cindy B. Belinda believes, good to see you. Matt is Catter's here. Yay. Uh, Just Jeannie, good to see you. Mary, hi. Sue Oilers. Ernestine, thanks for being here. And Bonnie, awesome to see you. Hi, Joyous. Hey, Camille, I believe that's how you never said before. Did you say before? I think so. Helicopter Grandma, I don't watch other channels. It's quite possible that she's, you know, she's decided to put her attention on a different channel, which is fine. Um, Helicopter is always kind of trying her best to support everybody, and um, she cares a lot for Jack and Lily, and sometimes it gets to her mental health. So maybe she's taking a break. I don't know. But whatever she decided to do, I hope she's doing well. Corbin, good to see you. Prayers for Jack and Lily always. So today, the chat, you guys are going to direct the conversation about Jack and Lily if you want to talk about the upcoming search. The location and date isn't being released publicly, but I don't know if there's a lot of speculation about where they're going to search, but where you guys think they should search, we can talk about that or other ideas that you have. My idea for the live stream was to go over some of the Canadian Canadian I guess the administration of justice in Canada. And I think it's important that everybody understands it. And I think it's important for my own reasons. And I'll explain those when we get to it. So, no real updates on Maya other than she had visits from her schoolmates the other day. She's looking much better. If you remind me, Grey Wolf, I will pull up her dad's Facebook page and we can watch a couple of videos. But yeah. You haven't seen Darren in a while? Are you talking about Durwood? Durwood doesn't come into my chat. He goes into Hidden in the Fog. But I did hear from him through another source or two because he must have been watching or somebody must have told him that Leo the lion is suspected to be Durwood. And he wanted to make it clear to me that he is not Leo the lion. So there's that. Patriot Girl, good to see you. Hey, JJ57 and Blueberry. Hey, Pinky, Captain Injustice. Firehorse, great to see you. Just so everybody knows, on May 2nd, Sunny will be joining me on the live stream. So if you want to see Sunny, join in on May 2nd. We'll be likely live streaming from Kent's Facebook Live that he's going to be doing at the rally. I believe they're calling it a peaceful rally. The Gathering of Hearts, or I can't remember, but yeah, that's the next time we'll see Sunny. Snarky Pants, hey Universal and Seaweed, thank you for coming today. Stevie Wonder, great to see you. And if I've missed anybody, I so apologize. Brian, good to see you. Old Garden Gal from PEI, great to see you. Interesting. New name for me. Whereabouts in PEI, if you don't mind saying. Hey Nana, Shelley Lee Thomas, you're going to be in Halifax on Saturday? Nice. Hey Bobby Joe. Okay. Enough with the games. Hey, Michelle James, nice to see you. Both Pinky, that's so nice. Thank you. Very nice of you. Hey, Bev. And I think, no, Dawn, every time I think I'm done, there's more people. There's Gren, Ariel, good to see you. You're not streaming? Okay, so I'll explain that to people real quickly. And good to see you. Hey, C Legal. Was watching another podcast about David yesterday, how they plan on proving the case without witnesses. Also, some mentions of no body cases. That's a crazy, crazy case. That it's so terrible. Was it a missing persons alert? Okay. I got an emergency alert on my work phone, but not my personal phone. Oh, wow. Thanks for being in chat, Melissa. And Gypsy Flo, hello, hey, Shy. There she is. Helicopter Grandma. We were just talking about you. Were your ears burning? And, oh, you know what? She was probably sitting right there the whole time I was talking about her. Colleen, good to see you today. You just needed a break. I'm glad you took a break. I am April Lambert. Good to see you. I think I got everybody now, you guys. If I haven't, I'm sorry, but we're gonna get started. So Melissa is um she's given like a certain amount of streaming hours on her platform, and she's kind of running out of time. She has to get to the 25th, I believe it is, and she can tell you more when I put myself on mute. But so that's why sometimes she streams and sometimes she doesn't, but she's always welcome. I always put my link in her chat. If she wants to join me, she's more than welcome, and I appreciate her for supporting me. Um, thank you. Julia, good to see you. Don't know where you are. I think I missed your comment, but oh, there it is. Good evening. Good evening. It's a dead giveaway that he told me it wasn't him. It's the first thing I thought too, Brian. I was like, really? Really? But hey, Marie. Is Marie Antoinette in here? Summerside? Summerside. Where? So my in-laws live near Cardigan. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Melissa. I'm going to, well, I don't know. Let me read this first. I have taken the time to watch the Kenley Matheson case, another messed up Nova Scotia missing persons case. He was an Acadia student who went missing in 92. So here's the thing, you guys. When I was doing my thumbnail, my mod group, they were going off about what almost seems like a trend of missing people in Nova Scotia, and like not a lot of them are found safely that we hear about. Thank goodness Sarah was found today, but and then there is news. There was news at some point that there suspected trafficking in certain cases, but then if you go on the government website, it still says 0 cases of human trafficking. So it's like there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect. So it is a huge, huge rabbit hole to open up and dive into, but we're going to skim the surface of it and see if it's something that you all want to get into. If it is, we can start putting some time and energy into that. Joe Neal, good to see you. Search continues. Helicopter, thank you so much. Oh, hey, Shelley. Good to see you. I'm going to address that stuff here very soon. I'm gonna give Alyssa the mic for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to we'll talk about the Larry situation and document and Shelley momentarily. Melissa, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. So I just want a couple things before we get started tonight on Jack and Lily. Anybody who followed Shar or Sunny or myself knows the Sebastian Rogers case, knows Tony Mathis, who is the guy who basically stood beside Seth and gave a lot of time and energy in the search for Sebastian, passed away. So I want to say that. I also want to say today is the 1-year anniversary of, I hate that word, but is the 1-year mark for Devlin Tate, who's been missing from Michigan. So prayers go out to his family and everybody who's searching for him. So that's all I have to say right now. But yeah, I guess I better explain the YouTube thing. So I guess like 20 hours or something like that of streaming time, and we've met that. So I will be streaming back on mine somewhere after the 25th.
And was there a mistake that you wanted to correct from the other day when you were reading I believe, a court document?
Yes, I almost forgot about that. So, when I was reading the court document the other day, I said, when I seen RM, which is um, Ron McKenzie, I unintentionally, so mm, gotta apologize here, Ron Mexico. I did not mean to say your name. It just came out because I had been reading chat and had starred one of your comments. So I'm sorry. It was not Ron Mexico. It was Ron McKenzie that she was speaking to. So I need to correct that and give an apology to Ron Mexico because I really didn't mean to say your name.
Yeah, and you know what? It's crazy. Like, so okay, on YouTube, if my mods like delete a comment or something, they still show up for me on StreamYard. Obviously, like we've all seen Charmaine put those comments up, and Grendel give Charmaine shit for putting the comment up. Because I don't know what's deleted and what's not. But what's mind-boggling to me is I'll watch my replay just to watch the chat, and I see comments that don't show up in StreamYard. It's weird. It's the weirdest thing on the planet. But I didn't see anything from Ron Mexico the other day. I don't even think I realized that he was in here anymore. But then I saw his comment correcting you, and I was like, I didn't even, it didn't even clue into me because, RM, like I know Ron Mexico isn't Ron McKenzie. Like I know that. But that little slip up, I think, caused a little bit of drama behind the scenes, but it wasn't intentional. It was just, probably because Ron Mexico's here so often. That's kind of what I think anyways. Anyway,
Sometimes my
now
mouth works faster than my brain. So when I was reading, I read, I'm sorry. It's on me.
Cindy, we need t-shirts. My mouth works faster than my brain. I'm just kidding. Don't make a t-shirt. Okay. Um, maybe. Good call. Maybe. Melissa, if you wouldn't mind just kind of going through and watching chat because there are people that are asking some questions um, about things that I'm not overly familiar with, and so hopefully the chat will have some answers. But moving over, I want to address the Larry Cameron situation. I Shelly did reach out and she sent me a lot of screenshots, which I know were shown on Shenanigans channel. Is it low? Just let me should be the right one. I'll adjust my volume in a minute. I'll go down further. Um I don't think I should have to show them again, honestly. Uh, because I mean it is what it is. And then I will say that Daleen also reached out to me and she sent me her side of the conversation. But in all fairness, Shelly sent me both sides. So I know nothing was missing from either one. Just because, they match up. I get it. It's a situation, but here's where I sit. I do not support GoFundMe's at all in this case. Um, I don't like fundraisers. Just, you know, sending money to somebody who is connected to the case, just to, if I'm going to give my money, I'm going to give it to a cause who needs it. Please bring me home. Or like, to women's shelters or gift cards for grocery stores, or that's what I choose to do. And that's where I think that people need to focus just on what people need. Now, because there's so much controversy behind Larry's GoFundMe, which I don't know a thing about. I haven't even opened it and I refuse to open it because I do not support it. Um, there's enough controversy there that I I'm not going to discuss Larry Cameron any further on this channel. Now, the document, the work that he put into the document, I still do appreciate that. If he is working on correcting the mistakes and maybe working towards making it more user-friendly, clickable so that we see the statement, we see the information, and then we can click on it and it'll take us to the document like Melissa's does, then we can revisit it. But I mean, the fact is, it's a very heated and passionate situation that I don't know enough about. I am not prepared to take a side. I don't have a dog in that race. I think that it's an important issue, though, if people are being defrauded or lied to. It needs to be exposed, and I hope that Shenanigans and Daleen both do their due diligence and continue covering that aspect of not even the Jack and Lily case, but that situation. Um, I know that Daleen was on here with Shelley, and she had said that Shelley told Larry to go off himself or, end his life. And, seeing that the statement was not that, it was a slang term, could be taken that way, but most common sense thinking adults in the real world know exactly what walk off a cliff means. It doesn't mean go end your life. It means go away, get away from me. I didn't take it that way, but this just shows you the level of drama that's there and the level of frustration that I'm going to steer clear, because at the end of the day, none of it is going to help us figure out what happened to Jack and Lily. None of it, not a single syllable of it. So I thank Shelley very much for giving me all the information, and Daleen as well, for giving me all of the information and to help me make a rational decision that, and it'll be covered elsewhere. It just won't be covered here. So um, that's, do you have anything to add, Melissa? And I mean, we've been going on Melissa's document for this long. And like I said, if Larry decides to make his more user friendly, um, and correct his errors, I don't see a problem with using that document either. Anywhere we can get all the information one spot, I'm all for it. But it's about Jack and Lily. It's not about GoFundMe's. It's not about a fire, not fire at an apartment building where, you know what I mean? All the stuff. And I wish Shenanigans luck in exposing all of that. And I wish Larry and Daleen luck in, defending it. And I keep saying, accountability and transparency is the cure for any skeletons in your closet. So it is what it is. So sorry. Melissa, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I think there's definitely a couple things that need to be fixed in Larry's document, like you said, about being clickable and stuff, but I found some use in it, but there's been several people saying they'd rather refer to the document I did, and I'll take that as a compliment. But to stay away from the drama, I think it's good that we just don't deal with it any further personally.
I agree. Perfect. I'm glad we're all on the same page. Yeah, no, I, the comment was, walk off a cliff or something. I do have the screenshots, and that's just, you're right, see, Leo, it didn't happen. It just didn't happen. Okay. First, so many people have been messaging me like really great information. You guys know I love talking to you guys online and offline. You know what I mean? And life is busy. There's some shit that I'm dealing with, but there's also this fucking house. If you guys remember last year, this fucking house. Trying to build a house here. And I feel a little bit I feel a little bit not bullied, but I don't know. My mods really upset me today because they were going on about like important stuff that I want to learn about, but I had to do this staining, right? And I sent them pictures of what I had to do and the volume of work that I had to do, and they had zero sympathy for me. They just kept talking, zero sympathy. They stopped and said, "Oh, it's so beautiful." Not one single person felt sorry for me. So I'm going to call them out today because this is what I showed them. Look at this. See this one here? Can you see my mouse? See this here? I have to stain all that with a 1-inch stain brush. 4 coats. Because this is the unfinished portion of the ceiling in the living room. And when it's done, it'll look like this one here on both sides. But then there's also outside. We have to finish the deck. And I have to do that every day for the rest of my life. The rest of my life. And it wouldn't even be so bad if the other day, okay, so the other day I can't remember what we were doing. We were talking about how we were going to like plan of attack because it gets super hot here. We got to get that deck done before it gets 100 degrees out there. But I said, "What are you going to do?" To Ian, I said, "What are you going to do when we're done this?" Do you know what he said to me? Sell it and start over again. I almost throat punched him. I swear to God, this is not happening twice. This is crazy. This is crazy. Nobody deserves this. Nobody. And my mods, they were just like, "Oh, how nice. That's beautiful." That wasn't the point. Like, I know it's pretty. It's a lot of fucking work. I'm gonna be here forever. Anyways, that is why I can't get back to you guys. That's why I can't get back to you guys like I used to. Because this shit has started now. So, okay. Uh anyways. What did Ron say? You going through chat at all there, Melissa? What did Ron say?
Trying
What did
to.
anybody say? Huh?
I've got some stuff started for you.
Okay. Thank you, Bonnie. I agree. There should be no GoFundMe. And it takes me to the Dylan Eller case. And that was where I said to no GoFundMes. Yeah. I can see them being done when people are sick. Yep, absolutely. Or if you're organizing a specific event or search, full transparency required. If you need to raise money for a specific purpose and you're going to be completely transparent, that's none of my business. You can do that. But if you want me to donate to you, you better have something tangible for me to see or have. Like the keychains that people are causing drama about, calling Christine a grifter for making these keychains and selling them. I bought 10 and I'll be giving them away. And you know what? Whoever gets them is going to be carrying them around and they're going to be asked, "Who are those kids on your keychain?" Jack and Lily's faces and names are going to get out. They're going to be everywhere. So I don't have a problem with that. Tangible. I'll give you my money. Tangible. It's not what she said and she knew that. Well, the drama. I cannot believe the audacity of someone sending you a cease and desist, then causing a ruckus on your channel. Okay, so, and I did hear there was some talk about me allowing Deline to come up on my panel after giving me a cease and desist. I did explain, I think that day or the day before, that Deline has since a while ago apologized and regrets sending me the cease and desist. I did acknowledge that it was a good learning experience for me. And it's not exactly bygones. We've both learned lessons from that situation. What she does is none of my business. Um, but I'll tell you what, I prefer having people in my good books than having a whole crew of you know what I'm saying. I like to know, I don't know. People are gonna stab you in the back regardless, but I like to see it coming, if that makes sense. I do what I do for a reason. There's never any mindless shit, right? I can't take the drama anymore. Shar and Melissa, you are no drama, and I respect you both for that. Try. It's hard. Deborah? Why 1 inch? It's like a 1.5 because Ian. That's why. Don't ask me. I just do as I'm told. Don't even get me started. I should give you guys his email so you can send him hate mail. You should invite a few friends over and have a standing party. Okay, so here's the thing, Envision. I'm having my family and my in-laws, not Ian's family, but my daughter's in-laws all come up here because it's a big house, but they're coming for 10 days. And my son-in-law is a contractor. He does all this shit. So if it's not done by the time they get here, it won't take long, but that's not till like July. I'm gonna be here forever. And then he's gonna sell it and try to make me do it again.
I say we sell Ian.
How much do you get for a 51-year-old truck driver owner person? Nah. I swear, if he sells this, we're buying a little bungalow in some old age neighborhood where they come and mow your fucking grass for you and shovel your, you know what I mean? It's not gonna be a condo, but I'm gonna have people. People are gonna do stuff. Thank you, Sammy, so much. Prayers for Jack and Lily. Coming up to a year. I really hope there's some answers soon. My birthday is April 30th, and for the first time, I kind of hate it. Why do you hate it? You're a Taurus, so that's good. Kimber, there's no posters or anything in the Annapolis Valley, but Lily and Jack, I would love a keychain. As soon as I have them in my hand, we will do, like if a lot of you want them, then we'll do another spin the wheel thing. I don't think you can spray this stain. It's high gloss. It's what went on the bench. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Okay. Thank you for starting those. And now I'm 46 comments behind. Thank you, Belinda believes. It is a lot of work. It's going to look beautiful. Yes, I know. Still. Yeah. Put some X-Lax in his dinner. That's so funny. But I can't because he can't. He keeps me up. If he's up, I'm up. I put some sleeping pills in his dinner. How'd that be? I'm just kidding. I would never. It's been 11 plus months and it's time for spring cleaning. No more drama and BS. Let's find the children. Yeah. I know. I feel it. I feel it already. So you're a menace to society. All the money could go towards the $150,000 reward. They could, but I think I don't care where people put their hard-earned money. You know, if they want to donate to a GoFundMe, that's up to them. But I'd rather put donation money to, like, even though, Jack and Lily aren't at Salt Springs Elementary, the school still needs stuff. Donate to them, women's shelters, Secret Santas, coats for kids. You know what I mean? That's just how I choose to do it. I don't know. But I'm not judging anybody for doing a GoFundMe. That's not my place to say yes or yay or nay. I did. Um, I will if he shows his face down here. I'll put him on. Um, I can't remember what I was saying. something. Trying to get through chat and keeping my right. Would absolutely love a tiny little house in the woods. Me too. Me too. My youngest son's birthday is tomorrow. He's an Earth child. He's also autistic and he has mental illness, so it's fucking tough. Wow. Well, happy birthday to your son. Do you do anything special? When the stain is all done, you can sit back and say, hey, I did that. Very true, Kimber, but I'm also going to be sitting back with an ice pack on one side and a heat blanket on the other side and, going to be taking Robaxins. Never mind. Well, don't give them Ambien because then sleep. He'll start driving his truck away. No, he won't. I know him. He'll come to my side of the bed and say, never mind. Never mind. Myself, don't lose interest in missing persons cases until they are found, but I see what you are saying. When the search dog followed Jack and Lily from the yard to the end of the driveway at the road, they stopped. If that was to be trusted, which I believe it is, why are they searching in the woods again? You're reading my mail. Okay, and there was another thing too. Janie reached out to me today. I think she obviously watches and or pays attention to the chatter, what people are saying. I do have questions and I want to make sure that I'm thorough so I don't have to keep bothering her. But oh, just a minute. I have to find it first. There are two pictures that she sent me that I want to know. I want to see if anybody takes what I take from these pictures that Janie sent me today. Because it's this one first. Eesh, gross. So we were all saying that not all of us, but some of us were saying that it's, too cold this time of year for Jack to have found worms or centipedes or whatever. And so Janie had said, she was out this morning worm hunting or this afternoon, whatever, worm hunting for the chickens. And she just wanted to prove that there are worms around the property this time of year. April 21st, 3 p.m. What do you take from this? Shannon, thank you. Justice and truth for Lily and Jack, absolutely. Thank you, Shannon. That's very kind. So to me, and maybe I'm just a bleeding heart, I don't know, but the fact that Janie sent this to me because of things that we, the public, were saying, with the time and date, like the metadata on this photo, like she knows how much people are suspicious of everything that she says. To send like this, like she didn't send me this picture and I was like, well, prove it was recently. You know what I mean? She just, this is how she sent it. It just sent a bigger message to me than just there are worms this type of year or this time of year. Yeah, and you know what I mean? It just, it's stupid because it's pictures of worms, but it puts some things in perspective for me to just automatically know that everything that you do and say is going to be scrutinized and you're going to be called a liar. So boom, she just automatically includes the metadata with the pictures. Like, what the fuck? Crazy. Crazy state of affairs. And then I think we have a little bit of an elephant in the room, and I'm not going to talk about it specifically today. There was an article that came out, and people are um, eating it up because some firearms, something or other, arrest was made on Foxbrook Road, 33-year-old male. I'm not going to tell you what I know or what I don't know. But from all appearances, it seems to have nothing to do with Jack and Lily's case. So, if anybody wants to talk about any of that, I know that Melissa is completely unaware of it. I wonder if my mods, can you go into our chat and post that article real quick, and we'll read it real quick.
I will be right back.
Sure. But it'd be great if I could get that that article for the charges, because strangely there was no names mentioned in it, just 33-year-old man from Foxbrook Road. Not a specific address, no. You know, there's let me see. I should be able just to open my links in here somewhere. How do I do that? How do I do that? Read receipts. Nope. Open a messenger maybe. Oh, there it is. Files, links. I'm pretty sure this is what you guys posted it on, isn't it? Maybe I'm wrong. There it is. Seaweed. I'm gonna read it, and then we're not gonna speculate, but we'll get into some Canadian justice stuff, just for information, so before we start going crazy with accusations and stuff, and we're just gonna talk about why I am the way that I am, right? I'm not protecting a source per se. It's just not my story to tell. You know what I'm saying? I hope you understand. But we're going to talk about what what the what the implications are of speculating too much. I don't know. I don't know. They do, and that's why I think something's fishy. Something's fishy, Shy. It's crazy. Anyways, Melissa, are you back yet?
I am.
Okay. Dang it. This isn't the one with they have news articles where you can hit play and then AI just reads it to you. So I was the same thing. What was the second pick was the same thing, just different worms. Same thing. Different worms. So a man arrested after police seized firearms, crossbows, swords from Westville, Nova Scotia home. The RCMP arrested a 33-year-old man and seized a variety of weapons while executing a search warrant in Westville last week. Police say officers attended a home on Foxbrook Road as part of an ongoing investigation on Tuesday. The Pictou County Integrated Street Crime Enforcement Unit led the search warrant execution with the support from Nova Scotia RCMP Police Dog Services, Westville Police Service, and Stellarton Police Department. During the search, investigators seized several firearms as well as prohibited and restricted firearm accessories and ammunition. Officers also seized crossbows, other weapons such as swords that are considered dangerous to the public, and body armor. A 33-year-old Westville man was arrested, says police. They did not release his name or say what charges he will be facing. The man was later released on conditions pending a court appearance scheduled for July 13th. How how very odd is that article? How very odd is that article? Um, it's very odd. But I wanted to do talk about that for just a minute, okay? Just for a minute.
I don't really know what to say. I mean, if it's first of all, that a lot of people think that's a large collection, but I mean, maybe in Nova Scotia, but it's not here in the US. But I have a hard time drawing a parallel with the Jack and Lily case and this arrest personally. So, I mean, I don't really know quite what to say about it. I mean, maybe that's odd in Nova Scotia or Canada, but that's not for the United States. So,
And just, you know, it does seem like quite a bit. Um, I did read some comments. Somebody had shared it on Facebook, and Derwood O'Grady had commented that the revolver is a BB gun. I know that one of these is a pellet gun. There is, um, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. But without more information, I don't want to speculate on how why they landed where they landed, um, where these things were obtained, um, what the charges actually are. Do you know what I'm saying? I know there are many. There are many. And I don't even know what to say other than okay, so I am a supporter of innocent until proven guilty at all costs. And here's why. And I don't care if it's a summary offense or indictable. It doesn't make a difference to me. And here's why. Because if something goes wrong in the administration of justice and any conviction is turned over on appeal and say they get acquitted on appeal or found not guilty on a retrial because of a technicality, then we've got monsters roaming the countryside, knowing how to beat the system. And I am not talking about Daniel. I am not talking about anybody specifically related to this case, but Grindel, anybody in the United States. And I'm going to show you a couple of cases here in Canada where we've got people who were originally convicted of murder and their convictions were overturned and they have to face another trial with another jury. What if they're acquitted and then they get set free because of a technicality? I'm not talking about the wrongfully convicted, right? The people who are factually innocent. But there are people who are guilty as charged, convicted, but because of a technicality, they have no choice but to release them. And I know it's a different country, but if you don't know about the Suzanne Morphew case, Sunny covered it extensively when it first happened. Her husband, Barry, he was arrested and charged with her murder, even though the body had not been found. And they were getting ready to go to trial, and the state withdrew those charges. Because if you take somebody to trial and you don't have enough evidence, or there's a fatal error in the evidence or the administration of justice to get to trial, and that person is found not guilty, you don't get a second chance at it. And that's exactly what the RCMP here say. We got one shot at this, right? So everything has to be done in a specific manner in order for the evidence to come out for a judge or jury to find that there's enough evidence to prove beyond any reasonable doubt that the person is guilty as charged, is if there's any fuck up in there, they could be free. They could be free. But I will back up a little bit and say Barry Morphew, Suzanne Morphew's husband, once her remains were found, he was recharged, rearrested, and he will be facing trial. I can't remember if it started or not, but you know, you just, this stuff matters, and everybody, you have to support these people having a strong defense, because if they're not guilty, then the evidence should show that. If they are guilty, then you want any conviction to stand up. So everybody has to be on board for a fair and public and speedy trial. That's your rights. They did. They certainly did. There's, I don't know how much I can say and what I can't say, but there's no armor in here. It was a hand-me-down from a family member. Okay. So I'm going to move on into the Canadian justice system a little bit. And I know a lot of you have a lot of um, maybe experience or knowledge, and please feel free to chime in whenever you want. Yeah, Barry is locked up, and that's the difference, right? So these people in Canada, they seem to be arrested and charged and then released on a undertaking or released on conditions. That seems to be becoming pretty normal. Oh, it's terrible. To me anyways, and not this situation, not Daniel, whatever. But and I mean, I'm sure they would keep like a violent criminal behind bars until trial. It's just terrible to think. Like, I hope this isn't the new way. Do, do, do. Um, that's that's what I mean, see legal. It just doesn't make sense, does it? Does it? It doesn't. Not at all. Okay. Mm, I actually, Melissa, you know what? If I'm gonna be, because I actually have a sore throat. If I'm gonna read all this stuff, then it's not gonna be, it's not gonna be good. I'm gonna be choking and whatnot. All right. I'm gonna send one of these articles to you, Melissa, to pull up on your end and read, and then I think I can actually get AI to read one of these. Um, nope, can't. But in any case, Melissa's going to read one and I'm going to read one. I will go ahead and go first. If I can. This is crazy. What's been deleted, Gren? What are you talking about? What you talking about, Gren? Applegrath. Okay, so this one, I'm going to read this one to you guys, and then Melissa can read the next one to you guys. I'm going to make it big and get rid of us and put our faces elsewhere and get rid of this comment. No offense, sorry. Okay. BC Court of Appeal overturns life sentences imposed on teen murderers who stabbed victim 42 times. Two men who were given adult sentences for murdering a Surrey man when they were in their teens have won reduced sentences on appeal. Instead of spending their lives in prison with no chance of parole for 7 years, the killers, who cannot be named because of the Youth Criminal Justice Act's ban on identifying minors accused of crimes, will now serve 7-year sentences with only the first 4 years behind bars. The killers initially appealed both of their convictions and their sentence for the second-degree murder of 45-year-old Delphin Paul Westbeckmo. They ended up dropping the conviction appeal and only appealed the sentence. Number one, and I don't want to get too graphic, but how in the world is stabbing somebody 42 times second-degree murder? How? Random act of extreme violence. The brutal slaying took place August 2019 when the offenders were 15 and 16 years old, respectively. The court heard that the teens had left a party to go for a walk in the early morning hours of August 16th when they came across the victim. There was no indication before the court that the killers had any prior connection with the victim. Investigators believe that, can I just call him Delphin? Had gone outside for a smoke and to take the garbage, and that the attack was unprovoked. He was found fatally wounded in the parking lot near the Semiamuhu Samemu shopping center. The killers stabbed him 42 times in only 26 seconds, causing deep wounds that were not survivable, according to BC Court of Appeal Justice Harvey M. Groberman's decision, written on behalf of the 3-judge panel. There's no apparent motive for the attack nor any indication of a precipitating event, the decision reads. The judge was left with the possibility that it was simply a random act of extreme violence. The trial judge convicted the teens of second-degree murder, ruling that comes with an automatic life sentence with parole eligibility after as few as 10 or as many as 25 years for adult offenders. Youth offenders convicted as adults can receive life sentences, but the Youth Criminal Justice Act prescribes shorter parole eligibility requirements for them. Delphin's murderers had their eligibility set at 7 years. Presumption of diminished responsibility. In a decision issued Friday, BC's highest court cited a recent decision from the Supreme Court of Canada as its reason for overturning the sentence. The July 2025 Supreme Court of Canada ruling substantially elevates the threshold for sentencing young persons as adults. Under previous jurisprudence, judges considering imposing an adult sentence on a minor were expected to weigh evidence about the accused's maturity and determine whether they were satisfied that the presumption of diminished responsibility prescribed in the Youth Criminal Justice Act for young offenders had been rebutted. The Supreme Court of Canada ruling raises the bar for judges to satisfaction beyond a reasonable doubt that the presumption has been rebutted according to Groberman's decision. The court also emphasized that equivocal indicators of maturity should not be exaggerated or emphasized, but they are. The standard set in the Youth Criminal Justice Act is an exacting one. It must be definitively established that the level of maturity of a young person is so advanced that they should no longer benefit from the presumption that they are less blameworthy or culpable than adults who commit similar crimes. The killers were sentenced in 2022, years before the Supreme Court decision, and Grobermans found it manifest that the trial judge did not meet the Supreme Court of Canada's standard in his analysis of the case. Crown Counsel conceded that the appeal should be allowed and the adult sentences for the killers replaced by the maximum allowable under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. Groberman imposed such a sentence, ordering the killers to serve 7 years, with the first 4 in incarceration. They will receive credit for the time they spent in custody after their sentencing by the lower court. I have no doubt that the brutality and senselessness of the crime in this case will cause some members of the public to view the overturning of the sentences an injustice. This, however, a court of law bound to adhere to the dictates probably dictated of statutes and the interpretations of them by a higher court. In light of the language of the Youth Criminal Justice Act and the Supreme Court of Canada's decision, it is clear that it is not open to the trial judge to impose an adult sentence on the appellants. It's crazy. Technicality. 42 times. Second degree. 42 times in 26 seconds. So even if you say 21 times each in 21 seconds, that means they're thrusting about once every second. Children. Would they say they were 15 and 16? Children. Diminished capacity. But, Melissa, do you have anything to say about that before you pull up yours?
I just think it's absolutely crazy that 2 children, 15 and 16, can unalive somebody by, stabbing them 42 times in 26 seconds. That is definitely a lot of rage, but that's a lot. I mean, if you stop and think about it, that's a lot. And stabbing someone is not as easy as people think. It takes a lot more force than people think. It's just that blows my mind. But to essentially only serve 4 years for it is even worse. Like, for me, that's like, if you want to commit a crime, go to Canada and do it, because, you want to live somebody, you get 25 years. Okay. It might be worth it for some people. That just is crazy to me. I thought our justice system was messed up, but I don't know.
Yeah, we give you a good run for your money. Like, at least when you guys lock people away, you lock them up. Might take a bit, but you guys, gone is gone with a lot of these guys in the States. Not here.
Yeah, I mean, we lock you up where you're locked up, period. But I mean, I don't know that it would have qualified for DP here, but they would have got more than essentially 4 years. They just would have. That's just crazy.
Sorry, just reading something. Go ahead, Melissa. You can pull up. What is this? What is this one? This one. If there's a listen to this article, you can do that instead on your low volume thing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'd planned on, so I don't have to read it.
Alberta's top court overturns conviction for Ponoka man who beat his partner to death. Chantel Firing Stoney, a Cree mother of 4, died in November 2020. Wallace Snowden, CBC News, posted, April 21, 2026, 1:02 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Alberta's highest court has ordered a new trial for a man convicted of second-degree murder for beating his common-law wife to death in their home 6 years ago. Citing a legal error, a panel of 3 judges with the Court of Appeal of Alberta has overturned Ryan Applegarth's conviction in the death of Chantel Firing Stoney. Firing Stoney, a 26-year-old mother of 4 from the Samson Cree First Nation, died on November 5, 2020, inside her home in Ponoka, Alta. Trial heard that Firing Stoney had suffered catastrophic injuries including a dozen broken ribs, a lacerated liver and multiple blunt force injuries to her head, torso, and extremities. In a unanimous decision issued on April 17, the Court of Appeal overturned the conviction issued in May 2023 by trial judge Justice Eleanor J. Funk. The appeal justices ruled that the trial judge repeatedly failed to apply the correct legal test for second-degree murder when convicting Applegarth in the killing. The trial judge made no finding that the appellant had the specific intent to kill, the appeal judges wrote. The Ponoka man, who is now 33, has been granted a new trial. Conviction must be set aside, court rules. we conclude that the trial judge erred in law in her assessment of the necessary mens rea for second-degree murder. The appeal court decision reads, "The resulting conviction is unsafe and must be set aside." On the night of the killing, Firing Stoney had left the family home to visit a friend for some drinks but had returned within the hour. There was no dispute at trial that, immediately before her death, Firing Stoney and Applegarth were the only adults in the home. Shortly after 9 p.m., Applegarth went to his neighbor's home and asked that an ambulance be called. Medics soon arrived. They found Firing Stoney unresponsive and were unable to revive her. An autopsy found that she died of blood loss and oxygen deprivation to her vital organs. Following a 5-day trial in Wetaskiwin, the trial judge convicted Applegarth of second-degree murder. In her oral reasons, Funk concluded that Applegarth intended to cause bodily harm to Ms. Firing Stoney, and he was reckless as to whether or not death ensued. Funk characterized the fatal assault on Firing Stoney as a gratuitous act of violence that highlights the dangers that Indigenous women disproportionately face, even inside their own homes. She said that Firing Stoney, a Cree mother, was defenseless against the violence that played out that night, in the presence of 5 young children. Applegarth was sentenced to life with no eligibility for parole for 18 years. As with the gravity of this offense, Mr. Applegarth's moral culpability is high, Funk wrote in the 2023 decision. A question of intent. In his application for an appeal, Applegarth did not dispute the trial judge's conclusion that he caused Firing Stoney's death by means of an unlawful assault but contested the findings around his intent. His appeal challenged the trial judge's analysis and findings on the mens rea, or guilty mind, required to be convicted of second-degree murder. The appeal court found that the trial judge repeatedly omitted the knowledge component required for a second-degree murder conviction. The appeal judges ruled that the Crown's case, which was entirely circumstantial, lacked the clear fact findings required to determine whether he knew the beating he inflicted on Firing Stoney was likely to cause her death. Accordingly, the trial judge's finding that the appellant was reckless as to whether Ms. Firing Stoney lived or died amounted, at most, to a finding that he knew death was a possible consequence of the assault he intentionally inflicted upon her, the decision reads. In this case, the Crown argues that despite the error, the case against the appellant is overwhelming. We do not agree that the Crown has met its very high burden of establishing this. There is a realistic possibility that a jury could have reached a different verdict of manslaughter. Applegarth has a lengthy and violent criminal record and was on bail for a previous homicide when he killed Firing Stoney. A new trial date has not yet been set. Applegarth remains in custody, serving time for his manslaughter conviction in the death of Jamison Lewis, who was shot in the chest at his home in Wetaskiwin on January 3, 2020. He was sentenced in that killing in 2022 at the Wetaskiwin Court of King's Bench.
So clearly a violent offender, right? Like, I think we can all agree he's up on manslaughter as well, or he's serving a sentence for manslaughter as well. But this is overturned. That's craziness to think. So like I said, I want to go through some things in the criminal justice system in Canada that I think are important for us to know, just to keep in mind, um, and some things that can be related back to Jack and Lily's case and why things are the way that they are. And as much as it sucks for us, we have to respect it as part of the process, right? It's hard and we want information, but we we have to respect it. We don't have a choice at this point, because if there are ever any arrests, we all have to hope for a fair trial. We have to hope for a proper arrest. We have to hope for all of it, just so that convictions stand. And the families that, like, a lot of times, you guys, these families that lose their loved ones to murder they're put through it over and over and over again every time they come up for parole, or when they appeal. It's not fair to the families. It's not justice for the victims. And that's why I am such a strong supporter of innocent until proven guilty, and not accusing anybody of anything that we can't factually prove. But this first one, anyways, that I wanted to actually, first of all, Melissa, what do you think of the article that you just read for us or had read for us?
So there were a couple things in this that bugged me. It says that the trial, they heard that she suffered catastrophic injuries, including a dozen broken ribs, lacerated liver, which it takes a lot to lacerate a liver, and multiple blunt force injuries to her head, torso, and extremities. But yet they're saying he didn't have the mens rea to say, oh, this could kill her. What did you think was going to happen when you were repeatedly hitting enough to break a dozen ribs? That's a lot of ribs. Okay. Don't remember offhand how many we have, but that's a lot of them. And again, to lacerate a liver is a lot. So what did they think? What did he think? Oh, I'm just beating her and she's going to walk it off tomorrow. What? I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me. And they said he didn't even dispute the death. Well, what? This just blows my mind. I just don't even know what to say. Like, how did he not have the foresight that this was going to? In her oral reasons, Funk concluded that Abelgarth intended to cause bodily harm. Well, duh. I mean, a dozen broken ribs, a lacerated liver, blunt force trauma, like, and then you say, well, he didn't have the let me find it here. The guilty mind, a guilty mind required to convict. Well, what did they this just blows my mind. I don't even know what to say. I mean, it literally just I don't get it.
Right, and that's mens rea is guilty mind, like criminal intent. Like it it leaves you speechless. It really does. And to think he's getting a new trial, but prior bad acts don't come into a current trial, I guess. So it's bad.
It does in the United States.
Prior bad acts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if
Really?
you have like if you have done stuff and it's related to the crime that you're being charged with, they can actually admit, and they don't do it all the time, but they are able to admit prior bad acts. And so for them to sit here and say, well, yeah, oh well, basically, just blows my mind because he's obviously a violent criminal. He'd already shot somebody in the chest. Like, how do you not think, oh, I'm beating this person so severely? What did he think was going to happen? They were just going to walk it off? Like,
Yeah, there's no. I mean, what can I say? That's that's our justice system.
so you
And
have
sorry.
you have 24 ribs as a woman, and he broke a dozen of them. So he literally broke half the ribs. And I would assume, I know it's not said, but um they said that she had internal injuries besides the lacerated liver, blunt force injuries. Like, you know, when you break a rib, you run the chance of puncturing a lung or other organs that are vital. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to understand what constitutes mens rea and just like the last one too, second degree, 42 times in 26 seconds. That's not in my mind, anything after the first one in a lot of courtrooms would be considered a form of premeditation. Like you chose to continue, and I don't understand that argument. And don't get me wrong, I'm not one to judge the judges, but here we are.
Well, you
So I
have an
wanted to bring up.
excellent point there, because after the first one, you are intentionally choosing to stab this person or hit this person. That is intent. Like, this person is most likely going to succumb to these injuries, right? And no longer be alive. So you chose to do that. And that is literally, I mean, it takes a second. It's been, tried over and over. The intent can take literally a second. And so you have 26 seconds. You are repeatedly choosing to do this 42 times. That, I don't know. Your guys' system is messed up.
Certainly is. I just noticed that there are 38 starred comments, so I'm going to just kind of race through a little bit of them. Ooh, have to do a GoFundMe to save Shar from doing the stain job. We'll hire it out. That's funny. It wasn't in the docs, never verified by major crimes. Daniel was the only one that I recall stated that the dogs lost scent. Yeah, at the road. I couldn't verify that from anybody else. Does that make it not true? I don't know, but cognitive dissonance, if we decide to believe that because it fits into our narrative that the kids were taken, or if we disbelieve that because, we believe everything Daniel says is a lie. So how, what do? You can't win with stuff like that. So you've got to stick to the court documents. That's my point. The RCMP have to prove guilt, not Janie prove her innocence. So what is she trying is what I take from this. I don't think she's trying to prove innocence. She's just trying to show that there's worms on the ground. I truly don't think that it goes a whole lot deeper than that. Just based on the statement that she gave, that Jack had found a centipede or a worm or something, and then the public saying that there are no bugs and insects that time of year. That was just that wasn't trying to prove guilt or innocence. I think that was just her trying to say that she wasn't lying. I think that's a different thing, Mary. Just my opinion. She is really bothered by being called a liar and all of the conspiracies. Seems so. I think the RCMP have to put out a statement with regards to why dogs were used to stop speculation. I don't think we're going to see that. I don't even think there's any significance to the seizure at all. Anyways, in my opinion, it's just somebody's collection of things that they have an interest in. It's very, very common. It doesn't mean anything. And I think if and when the information comes out, I think everybody will. Things aren't always as they seem. However, nothing has been proven or disproven in court, so I'm reserving judgment. If it's not the person being suspected, then it has nothing to do, but if it is him, I think it is tied to the larger. Again, enough with the games. Everything is not always as it seems. The firearms case doesn't relate to Jack and Lily's case. Hidden in the Fog showed an email to squash the rumors of why dogs were there. Not cadaver dogs, just security of officers. Oh, did she show that? I didn't watch. Those swords are enough alone to make an arrest. In my opinion, they had reason to go in there, so it makes me wonder. And we're going to get into that because I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting to me. And I'm going to read the search and seizure. I tried, with all my staining, I still went back and I tried to find, about a year and a half ago, I came across a few of my books from college. because I was going to give them to Ian's daughter, and I cannot remember what I did with them, but one of them was criminal investigations report writing, but then there was one on search and seizure, and I was trying to remember where I put it, but instead we're going to go with Google because I couldn't find my book. But I wanted to read through that today. What else? If someone's on probation and they have those things, can you be charged? Absolutely. If they're on probation, absolutely. It's probably a violation of probation, but they'd have to be on probation and would have to have a criminal record to be on probation. So I don't know that. Do you? A few things that are not allowed here: silencers, body armor, crossbow, magazines. Most is not a problem, but some items are very bad here in Canada. And if we kind of look at the temperature in Nova Scotia, not only is public trust in the RCMP skewed, like it is not a good situation there, rightfully so. But then you look at this arrest and the things that were found, you automatically start to think of Portapic and Wortman and the shit that he was doing. And I think that that has a lot to do with maybe the response that there were pictures and stuff going around about like um police vehicles and we hear dogs and all this stuff that are there, and that's serious stuff, especially like there was a mass shooting in BC here a couple of months ago we know about, and there's just a lot of violence in our society today, and I honestly think that it's like a cop's worst nightmare to face something like that, to have to respond to something like that. And so I think the response for anything to do with weapons, I think might be mm, it could in some instances look a lot more dramatic than it might be in reality, if that makes any sense. I don't know, but mad as a catter. If they were properly stored, properly registered, and legal, there wouldn't be an issue. I don't know if you can get license, and I don't know, but I don't think there's something like that for a sword. I don't know the laws around swords. Too many distractions going on. It's a case of look over here while something going on down elsewhere. Yeah. I thought in Canada all hunting rifles, etc., had to be registered. Is that not? No, they do. They do. Did Darren say they are not his son's weapons? A reliable secondhand denial? I don't know if he said that. I noticed a comment on the Facebook group that shared that story. Durwood made a comment on that saying that the revolver is a pellet gun. Banned by courts from possessing weapons means all weapons, not just pew-pews. Right. But we don't know who this person is, and even if we think we do, I don't know of a criminal record. The article said both restricted and prohibited firearms. Could be hunting tools unless he's a convicted felon. Can't wait to find out confirmed who it is. That's a rage kill. You're okay. Now we're back into the article. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's crazy. We have no real youth restorative justice here. That was one of the main reasons I took criminology. Youth here don't stand a chance once they're in the system unless their parents really stand up. But how do they get there in the first place? Yes, explain why RCMP Canadian Missing Person Database in Nova Scotia, which is missing Jack and Lily. I am certain they were, but now only posted on Picto Facebook page, and the wording on that post last seen. Interesting. I'm going to leave that starred and we'll come back to it later. There was a man in New Brunswick who was tortured to death, and 3 accused admitted to everything they did, and they get off because of an administrative error. I did find that today in my research, but it was a little bit too brutal. Yes, it was even more so than what we've already read. Never mind the 6 dangerous inmates in Ontario's accidentally released and still at large. Nice. Some convictions in the US will get 80 years, and the same crime in Canada gets you 8 out in 5. Ain't that the truth? Wow, this is Canadian justice. Lengthy criminal record doesn't count. What a joke. Say that again. In my opinion, Canada does not have a justice system. Canada has a legal system, and it sucks. That is excellently put. I know the feeling about the court. I am the auntie of one of Robert Pickton victims. I have never been the same since. JJ, are you one? Was your niece one of the ones he was convicted on, one of the 6? Or one of the ones he wasn't even tried for? I'm so sorry for that. Prison justice got him what he deserved. Canada needs to get rid of the Young Offenders Act. It's the Youth Criminal Justice Act now, Dodie. Not all children can be rehabilitated. They need to do. It goes deeper than that. How did they land? Yes, there's just kids who do shit. There is. But I don't know. I don't know. Is it home? Is it family? Is it I don't know. There is no justice anymore. Us victims are the ones who suffer and pay, right? And you're re-victimized every time somebody comes up for parole or if they win on appeal. And that's why, as hard as it is, you really have to stand up and advocate for a fair trial and for people charged with offenses to have a proper defense. Because if they're guilty, they're guilty. And the Crown or the state or whichever country you live in will have had the evidence to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And I've seen many a trial where there is what I consider to be reasonable doubt, but the jury sees more than we ever see, and they usually can weed through it. Casey Anthony aside, like honestly. But, you know, it's a peaceful gathering happening at the RCMP in Westville, Stellarton. I do not believe I mean I don't know if Malia is going or not, but I would suspect Daniel will not be there. I don't know for sure, but would you? Life is 25 years in Canada, 3 pots and a cot and a gym and TV and music, and all you have is yeah, and they have tablets now. And then a few months ago I did a live stream and we talked about the Canadian justice system, like crime and punishment actually. And like Paul Bernardo, Michael Rafferty, these violent offenders, high profile violent offenders who should be in maximum security 23-hour lockdown for the rest of their lives have been transferred to medium security prison. And the one that I showed had an actual hockey rink in the yard. So these violent offenders, predators, are allowed to strap on basically knives to their feet and play hockey. Like, I don't know if those 2 individuals specifically are allowed to play hockey, but wow. He probably beat her many, many times before over several years, and this was probably the argument that he didn't know was going to die. She was going to die. And the cycle continues, right? It certainly wasn't the first one. What happens if anyone knows if kids are not found? Will they do more searches in a month or what? The people have been encouraged, and there are a lot of local people who do go out and search. Organized searches like this, I think you'll see many more if they're not found. Do they have Gladu in the US? I don't know what that is. I would like to know why arrest warrant was issued. Is he still locked up? No, it says in the article that he was released on conditions. And we're going to read about search and seizure and an arrest warrant, the affidavit in support of an arrest warrant. We're going to read the requirements, and only the person charged or their lawyer has the right to see that document. But I highly suggest they ask to see it. I mean, you have to exercise your rights, right? Here in Australia, money means more to the government than life. You get longer in prison for frauding the government than taking a life. Wow. Wow. I've lost a lot of sleep since you showed that black house with the prints in the snow. Shar, something just has haunted me. Maybe next search should be there. Belinda has searched that house. Other people have also searched that house, Kimber, but you're not wrong. It's a sketchy looking fucking house. Crossbow is illegal. There's also sawed-off shotguns and swords. The appearance of it looks terrible. Not gonna lie. None of that is illegal in the US, but if you have a felony, you cannot own them. Marnie Frey, okay. Didn't Anita say this was going to happen with weapons? Did she? How would she know? Maybe she was a tipster. I don't know. I don't remember. Are some people just born unalivers? Meaning, so that goes into nature versus nurture, Shannon, and I would love to do a live stream on that. However, I think that it would probably bore people to death. I've seen trials where detectives have bribed and threatened witnesses to say what they wanted them to say and to get a conviction. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that happens. It's terrible. If whoever made any sort of threat, they can get charged with possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose. If whoever made any sort of threat, they can. Right. That's very true. If there were any charges related to threats, it's very true. But I don't know that. I don't know that. No, Shannon, they're not involved. Nope. I suspect it'll be the same as last time, whereas if any of the groups, if you come across anything, you're to take a picture, send it to Nick, get the coordinates for Nick, and then basically he has a contact with major crimes or with the RCMP, and he sends the information to the RCMP right away. And the RCMP, I think, are the ones that will come out and collect anything found, I believe. Or something like that. The searches themselves are not supposed to touch anything or collect anything. They're supposed to take a picture and send it to Nick, who's, from my understanding, usually at the command center. And then he's the one that is in contact with major crimes. So there is a system in place just in case stuff is found. 97 comments behind. Melissa, are you starring stuff still?
Yes.
Okay, good. Perfect. So then we're caught up. I was reading them as she was starring them. Lovely. Don't touch anything this time. Who? Me? I won't. Promise.
So,
Go ahead.
so people have asked, I'm going to add this to the stage real quick. Oh, I can't. Can you add that, what I put up backstage? People are asking what Gladu is, and you had asked if we had it in the US, and I honestly don't think we do. But what it is it refers to a Canadian legal right stemming from the 1999 Supreme Court decision R versus Gladue that mandates courts to consider the unique systemic or background factors of Indigenous people. During sentencing, it aims to address the overrepresentation of the Indigenous people in prison, prioritizing restorative justice and alternatives to incarceration. The application is it applies to all Indigenous people, regardless of whether or not they live on or off a reserve, including bail hearings and sentencing. The Gladue Reports is a specialized pre-sentencing report that details an individual's background, including experiences with residential schools, foster care, racism, and intergenerational trauma. As far as judicial duty, even if a formal report is not prepared, judges are legally required to consider these factors. The goal is to find a fit sentence that emphasizes rehabilitation and healing over mere punishment. I do not believe we have this in the US. If we do, I'm unaware of it. So I just wanted to say that because a couple people had asked what it was. So I had to look it up because I didn't know what it was.
It sounded familiar, but I mean, I didn't know. So this one here, yeah, Terry Lynn McClintock was moved to a healing lodge. I thought, like, Tori Stafford's dad raised quite the stink, and there was a lot of us that were protesting, and I thought that she was sent back cool. Is that accurate or no? Was she allowed to stay? She wasn't even indigenous from what I understood. She identified as indigenous. Wow, it's crazy. And yeah, I get it, Gas Bay Girl. You're laughing at me, but I get it. Don't touch anything, searchers. Don't touch anything. Don't touch anything. She was sent back to jail. Yeah, I thought so. I thought so. Okay, put this back up. So there was some talk the other night in our chat about the Freedom of Information Act. We don't have that here. We have the Access to Information Act. The public access to records relating to an active criminal investigation is heavily restricted, which we as Canadians know. While the Act generally mandates openness, Section 16 provides specific exemptions that allow government institutions to refuse the disclosure of information that could harm law enforcement or active investigations. Key exemptions for active investigations. The head of government institution like the RCMP or federal departments may refuse to disclose records if they contain investigative information, techniques and plans, harm to law enforcement or RCMP and policing services. Specific provisions and limitations, refusal to confirm or deny the existence under Section 10, subsection 2. An institution may refuse to confirm or deny whether records exist if that confirmation itself would violate the exemption mentioned above. Severability, if a request includes both sensitive investigation details and non-sensitive information, the institution must try to sever or separate the protected information and release the rest. And this is what we saw with the heavily redacted court documents, right? Exemptions or other agencies. Specific sections protect investigations by the Auditor General, Commissioner of Official Languages, Information Commissioner, and Privacy Commissioner. Public interest versus harm. While exemptions are strong in some scenarios, the public interest in disclosure could be weighed against the harm. And I believe that's where CBC came in and was able to get those heavily redacted court documents. Privacy Act versus Access to Information Act. Access to Information Act for accessing general records held by federal institutions requires a $5 fee, often leads to heavy redactions in criminal cases. In the Privacy Act for accessing your own personal information, it is more effective for individuals involved in investigations at no cost. Then provincial. Don't really need to talk about that, do we? Have anything to say about that? So it's a little different than your freedom of information, right?
Yeah, it's a little different. It's similar but different.
Yeah, it's just simply not, it's just not our right to see some of this stuff. It is absolutely RCMP's right to not disclose based on their own determination of what is important and what is not important to their investigation, right? And for the most part, I think we all get that, but it pisses us off, and regardless, right? Does tick us off. Which one do we want to do next? Just this one's really quickly. In Canada, the right to a fair and public trial is a fundamental legal right protected by Section 11 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It ensures that anyone charged with an offense is presumed innocent until proven guilty by an independent, impartial tribunal in a public hearing. This right ensures a fair process rather than just a perfect result. So the whole process matters. It's not just the verdict that matters, it's how they got to the verdict. It all matters. Key aspects: presumption of innocence. The Crown must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Independent and impartial tribunal. The judge or jury must be unbiased, which is really hard when a case has such high public interest. Locally and nationally. Public hearing trials are generally open to the public to ensure transparency, although exceptions exist. Like I've talked about before, the in-camera hearings for sensitive cases. The right to counsel or full defense. The right to present a full answer and defense, including the appointment of counsel for serious charges if the accused cannot afford one. Reasonable time. Accused individuals have the right to be tried within a reasonable time frame. No self-incrimination. An individual cannot be forced to witness against themselves. So I'm not gonna get into this stuff. So it's very, to me, this stuff is interesting. Which is the next one? Let's search and Caesar. Okay. Did this come up? So in the United States, and the stuff that we watch on Law and Crime and all that stuff, it's called reasonable, or it's called probable cause. Here, it's called reasonable and probable grounds. In Canada, is the legal standard requiring a practical, non-technical, and common sense belief that a crime has been committed or that evidence exists. It goes beyond mere suspicion, requiring a probability based on credible, objective evidence rather than mere possibility. Key aspects of reasonable and probable grounds. Definition. Often described as the point where credibility-based probability replaces suspicion. The objective test. The grounds must be objectively reasonable, meaning a reasonable person, not just the officer, would believe the facts based on the situation. It's more than suspicion. It is a higher standard than reasonable suspicion, which is used for investigative detentions. Reasonable suspicion covers the possibility of a crime, while reasonable and probable grounds requires the probability of a crime. Application. This standard is required for arrests with or without a warrant, conducting searches, and obtaining warrants. A contextual. Courts analyze the totality of circumstances to determine if the grounds were reasonable. Reasonable grounds versus reasonable and probable cause. In Canadian law, reasonable grounds is reasonable and probable grounds, and reasonable and probable grounds mean the same thing and represent the same standard of probability. So the components of the belief: subjective, the officer must actually believe that the facts exist, and objective, that belief must be reasonable in the circumstances. And then if we hop over to the search and seizure, are you starring stuff? Yeah, looks like it. Key aspects of search and seizure in Canada: the right to privacy. The core of Section 8 is to protect reasonable expectations of privacy. If no such expectation exists, like abandoned property, a search is generally not considered unreasonable. A warrant requirement: police must normally obtain a warrant from a judge or justice of the peace before conducting a search, which requires reasonable and probable grounds that an offense has been committed and that evidence exists at the place to be searched. Exceptions to the warrant rule: emergency, exigent circumstances. Police can search without a warrant if they have urgent concerns for safety or if evidence is about to be destroyed. Search incident to arrest. Police can search and arrested person and their immediate surroundings for weapons or evidence. Plain view: if police are lawfully in a location, they may seize evidence that is in plain view. Reasonable standard: even if a warrant is not required, the search must be conducted reasonably. And remedies for violation under Section 24, subsection 2 of the Charter. Evidence obtained in violation of Section 8 may be excluded from court if admitting it would bring the administration of justice to disrepute. I want to jump over to, is everybody following? Is this too much? Like, let me know. This stuff is just fascinating to me. I love this stuff. If you don't, just let me know and we can stop. But I want to jump over to, because a lot of people use the term fruit of the poisonous tree, and that is very much an American thing. Ours is not dissimilar, but it's not the same, in that in Canada, the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine is not adopted directly as in the US, but similar principles apply under Section 24, subsection 2 of the Charter. Evidence obtained through an illegal tree, the initial charter breach, is not automatically excluded, but rather a generous and purposive, whatever, approach is taken to determine if admitting derivative fruit, further evidence, would bring the administration of justice into disrepute. And so in the United States, it's more of a full stop, right? It's always a full stop. Right, Melissa? You know about your fruit of the poisonous tree. Do you want to talk about that for a little bit and how it's different from what you just read here?
So in the United States, if a search warrant is obtained fraudulently or you didn't have exigent circumstance to enter a home, then if you find something, you can't bring it into court because it wasn't legally obtained through a search warrant. So it's fruit of a poisonous tree, meaning, hey, you didn't do it right. Now you can't use it. And the bad part about that is a lot of times when this happens, the fruit of a poisonous tree that they're not going to allow is actually what they need, right? So the only way around that in the United States is, say I walk in, I don't have a search warrant, I go into somebody's house and I search it and I find evidence of a crime. The only other way to bring that in is to prove through the court that you would have found it another way. So if I say this knife is related to this crime that happened last night, but I got it illegally, the only way around that to get it then readmitted is, well, we would have got it because we talked to this person and this person says they seen this suspect, and so we would have got it eventually. But a lot of times it's not even allowed even then. So it's it's a big sticking point. And I think ours versus yours is really different because you guys still, well, it could be, with us, it's not a complete full stop, but it's pretty close to it. It's really hard to get that evidence back in after it's been deemed fruit of a poisonous tree.
Right. And then another thing, like in the United States, their Freedom of Information Act is amazing. Like if somebody is arrested, just give it a little bit of time and then the public gets to see the arrest warrant, the search warrant, and the affidavits that accompany those things. And those are basically the statements of the police officers that have the facts that they presented to a judge to give them the right to go into that dwelling or whatever, right? Like the public sees that most of the time. Canada's not like that.
Yeah.
So,
So
go ahead.
like one of the things, like I was talking about this earlier with somebody in a in the US, like in my state in Indiana, I can go to something like DocsPop, or I can go to mycase .in.gov, so each state has that. I've been able to look up criminals in Michigan and other states simply by going to their state database or searching for a name. So we don't have to file a lot with, if we just want a name, right? If we just want basic info, whether it be an SO or somebody that's arrested, we can just type it in and it'll bring up their charges, the documents, everything. Now, if we want things like the search warrant and things like that, then we can just file the Freedom of Information and they'll give you just about anything. But like our SO database, you can search it by state, you can search it by county, by city. We have a lot more access to information and personal information, addresses, birth dates, birthmarks, tattoos, all of it here more than you guys do.
Right. Absolutely. Like you're lucky to see anything in Canada. It's crazy. So then, like I was saying, the affidavit in support of an arrest warrant is a sworn written statement of facts submitted by law enforcement officers to a judge or justice to establish reasonable and probable grounds for an arrest. It must provide a full, frank, and fair disclosure of the investigation, including details of the offense, the suspect's identity, and the evidence linking them to the crime. So basically, what brought them there. And just really quickly, I want to bring up the reasonable, that's different. The reasonable and probable grounds definition in Canada. Uh, it's the legal standard requiring a practical, non-technical, and common sense belief that a crime has been committed or evidence exists. It goes beyond mere suspicion. So remember that, right? It's not just, well, I think there's probably going to be evidence there. No, you have to have reasonable and probable grounds to believe that in order to get a warrant. Basically, the way it was explained to me recently is that an officer would need to take information in front of a judge and justify the violation of a citizen's privacy. They have to justify that to a court of law. And so it's it's not beyond a reasonable doubt that that's a pretty high standard, but it's still very high standard to be able to get a search warrant. Um, but the reasonable, mm, yeah, so the reasonable doubt is the highest legal standard of proof in criminal trials, requiring jurors to be near certain of a defendant's guilt, leaving no logical or common sense uncertainties based on the evidence. If such doubt exists, the jury must acquit, as it serves to protect the innocent individuals. I don't know, trials are fascinating. Fascinating. We did the fair trial, the reasons for conviction to be overturned. So there's this website, it's called Canly. You guys can go up there and, have a look at different cases. Very interesting. Very interesting. So anyways, I also wanted to touch on the publication bans and what could happen if you violate publication bans in any case. Violating a publication ban in Canada is a criminal offense that could lead to severe penalties, including up to 2 years in prison, substantial fines, often up to $5,000 for summary convictions, and a criminal record. Violations can be prosecuted as indictable offenses or summary conviction offenses under the Criminal Code of Canada. So maximum of 2 years in jail for indictable offenses. Summary convictions are fines, usually around $5,000. Criminal court conviction for violating a ban will result in a criminal record. Contempt of court, in addition to criminal charges, deliberate violations can lead to charges of contempt of court and youth cases, whatever. So that is if people continue to talk about Daniel's charges and bring up a possible victim and talk about them, it's a violating a publication ban. That's simple. So I wanted to point that out for the masses.
So is
And
there
then, oh yeah, no, go ahead.
is there a publication ban when it comes to Daniel Martel's new charges? Because I've had people say yes and I've had people say no. So is it out of respect or out of privacy, I guess, that it's not being given, or is there actually a publication ban?
There is an automatic publication ban on any sexual assault or anything involving a minor. Period. Period.
So in that case, those who are releasing these unredacted documents should really be careful, because I mean, I know it's in Canada. I don't know that they would come to the US for it, but I mean, it's a crime, period, end of story.
Yeah. It's kind of why I wanted to bring it up, because it is a big deal. It is a big deal. And I just Googled this really quickly because I wanted to point it out for those people out there that are contemplating. Well, there's a lot of talk out there about criminal harassment or filing a civil lawsuit. And I wanted to point out, because there's a couple of things that I wanted to say, and I'm going to put it out publicly, but there are a couple of people that I'm speaking to like specifically, and I'm not going to call their names out, but I kind of want to make people understand that, number one, you don't always need a lawyer. Granted, you do need knowledge, I guess, but you don't need a lawyer to civilly sue somebody in Canada. I don't know about the States, but in Canada, you don't. It's not necessary. But I will say that if you choose to bring a lawsuit and self-represent, you better hope that the person you're suing also can't afford a lawyer. I mean, that's just my own personal opinion. But sometimes it can work in your favor, being a self-representation, going up against an actual lawyer. But anyways, criminal court, beyond proof beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the standard to be met by the Crown against the accused. And while I'm on that topic, it is not up to anybody accused to defend themselves or to prove their innocence. The burden is always on the state or on the Crown to prove that that person is guilty as charged. It is not up to the accused to prove they're innocent. The Crown is the one that has to do the proving and bring the evidence. Now, the accused is allowed to defend themselves, and they have a right to defend themselves and to face their accuser and all the rest of that stuff. But you know, that's the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. But in civil court, the standard is a balance of probabilities or proof on a preponderance of the evidence, which is the burden of proof on the accused when he has met the presumption requiring him to establish or to prove a fact or excuse. So yeah, it's not, to me, it's not as, the standard is slightly lower probability, whereas criminal is beyond a reasonable doubt. Civil is probably, it's different. So I wanted to point that out to everybody out there, because there's so many people threatening lawsuits and stuff. Do it. I don't know what anybody is waiting for. Other than, yeah, it would cost a lot of money, but depending on what you're asking for, I suppose. But you don't need a lawyer to do it. And yeah, let's just look at JLR, for fuck's sakes, all from a jail cell. Yeah. 4,000 civil suits filed. Like, you don't need a bunch of money to do it yourself. You do have to have proof, you know. You can't just accuse anybody with a YouTube channel of slander and defamation or defamation or whatever. But the criminal aspect of it has to make you fear for your safety, threats, that kind of stuff. And I just wanted to point it out. Do you want to hit the chat a little bit, and I'll just sit here and listen?
I suppose I can. So if you want to take over starring, I'll hit some of these starred comments. Let's see, we did that one. So this one, no, I do not know what he passed away from. So I can't help you there. Ernestine says, I wonder if Janie's big parcel of land was ever searched by the RCMP. Good question. I would hope so. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I would hope so. I think they have, put it that way. How can it matter if the cops and the judges can be bought? It seems like in Canada they can. And I mean, I know there's been some cases in the US, with like the mob and stuff, but it's, I think, a lot more common, in my opinion, here only to do that in Canada. I get a text if a convicted SO moves into my county. Yes, the text has his or her name, the face, address, the car they drive, right? Tattoos, everything. So people are only arrested if there is probable cause. Hence, the name should be public, in my honest opinion. I agree. I mean, if there's probable cause to arrest somebody, I think that the name should be out there. But again, Canada is so different than the US. Like, we had a couple counties over here not that long ago, for me anyway. He was arrested with drugs and a pew and all kinds of stuff. They published his name, his age, where he was from, what his charges were, everything. And I notice in Canada, you guys don't do that. And they do it here dang near as soon as you're arrested. Reasonable means nothing they can suspect. In Canada, the officer has to believe. We give police too much power. I think that, like, I don't know, a couple months ago, I want to say, there was a kid in my state capital in Indianapolis, and they were pulled out of the car at gunpoint. Like, it was a big thing. It went viral, and they reviewed the body cam and realized that the officer had lied on the what happened. So they dropped all charges. These teens had a illegal pew pew with them. They had rugs with them, and they can't use any of it because the officer lied. So I agree. I mean, sometimes officers do have too much power, but like I said, when you go search, you should have gloves if you're going to touch anything, and you should be recording it. And I don't know how you guys are in Canada, but most of our officers, most of our law enforcement have body worn cameras, and in my opinion, it should keep them honest. And when they're not honest, then they get caught. So, I mean, you have to have reasonable, articulatable suspicion to do something in the US. That means they have to have reason to believe you committed a crime. So they have to have probable cause. They have to be able to articulate it. So they have to be able to say, this person did this at this time of day, whatever, right? And name the crime. Reasonable, articulable suspicion. And I'm probably saying that wrong, but in the US, there is a website, and almost all state and federal arrests are listed. Yes, I could plug in any name in the state and see where that person is. Yes, you can. I have family. I have two brothers. I have more, but I have two brothers that are very frequent flyers of the sheriff's department. And when I don't hear from them, thank God, for a year or two, and I wonder, I can always go in and plug in their name, and generally they're incarcerated. So it's a easy way for me to keep track of them and yet keep them away from me and my family. Also, under the Mental Health Act in Ontario, they can check everything in your house, person, car, anything they believe is covered. Jam to the jam, that's interesting. I don't know that we have anything like that in the US, but is it like somebody is threatening to self-delete and they can search? I'd like to know more about that. I may have to dig into your guys' Mental Health Act here. In some states, it's called Baker Acting. In some states, it's just like a safekeeping. But it does not give them the right to search. That's the difference. They can check your person to make sure you don't have anything. But in the United States, they can't, oh, well, this person is, mentally ill, so we're going to search their person, their car, their house. We don't have that here. Great advice there. Melissa and Shar, do you know what area or areas are being searched? I don't. Shar might.
That information is not being released to the public for the protection of both the searchers and the area. They don't want a bunch of locals just going there and, you know what I mean? So it's not being released. Harley's having a supper. I was making my supper and feeding Harley. That's what I was doing while Melissa was doing all that talking. Thank you so much. Did you get through most of the starred comments, Melissa?
I think we have 8 left, but they're going to be really quick. So body cameras changed everything. Yes. Now, Shar, do your officers there in Canada, do they have body worn cameras?
Not all, but yeah, they do. It's more of a funding thing, I think. But yeah, they're starting to implement them. You bet. We don't get that though.
Really? They do here. They'll release. I mean, my news feed on my Facebook is body worn camera footage. Most of it. I mean, it's very common for them to release it here. Melissa, can you go to Tucson and straighten out Sheriff Nanos? He seriously screwed up the Nancy Guthrie case. Yeah, I wish I could, but I'm not a lawyer, so I can't tell him what to do. Going by this case, I find it totally wrong for any documents to be released because that is going to influence and could cause a biased jury. I agree. I mean, I know we have more freedom of information, but if you have a high profile case like Jack and Lily and information is released that could affect it or affect your jury, I mean, I don't know. It does, unfortunately, affect juries. Can people outside of Canada be charged if they live outside of Canada? I don't know. Strength. That's a good question, but I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I would think that there's some sort of treaty between the US and Canada when it comes to criminals, but I don't know what that would be. That happened before the publication ban came out. Okay, I started this one because with the publication ban of the victim of SA or DV, isn't that automatic as soon as charges are laid?
It is. It's part of our it's part of the system. It's just automatic. Anything to do with SA or anything to do with a minor. But I mean, the individual that sent those charging documents from the courthouse out, that person needs to, I mean, like I said, it's just me thinking it was disrespectful to our justice system, even if you want to claim ignorance, like you didn't know that. I was really kind of offended by the whole thing. But again, wasn't wasn't my fight. So I was like, do you, and hopefully nothing bad happens as a result of it, you know? So I don't know is the answer.
So I noticed something when I was redacting those charging documents, and I noticed essentially it's not all black and white. There is blue ink, so therefore it's not all black and white like you would get if you got a PDF. So somebody had to physically take a picture of the original document to send it out, and that was wrong to do no matter who sent it out, because it's not, like I said, it's not black and white, so it wasn't obtained like through your guys' freedom of information, in my opinion only. It's a bit late now when the mainstream media brought it and mentioned the month. I agree, Lori, because they mentioned the month and the year, and we know who was living there at the time. Product, of elimination tells us who it is, but it's still not right. The media didn't mention the name. So in my opinion, and I might have an unpopular opinion here, but in my opinion, it was wrong to release the name of the victim. I mean, that's just how I feel about it.
Um, and then there's the other part of it too. Like I remember when the creator first got the email in and realized what was just sent to her, she stopped in order to redact some information before she started a members only live. But even on the members only live, I know you're not legally you don't have to redact, I guess, the accused personal information, but that is still doxing. And I know that Daniel's phone number was shown, his address, which we already knew, but his email address, like his identifying personal information was also on there. So I was just, the whole situation just, it felt wrong to me. But again, whatever. The guy accused in Amanda Todd's case was from the Netherlands. That's right, and he was eventually held accountable. The very serious situation, whereas this is, I mean, it's serious, but it's not like the poor little girl who, who her ended herself. It's a lot more. Like, I don't want to put a scale on somebody's privacy, but you know what I mean. It's not quite the same. But you're right. Absolutely, was held accountable in Canada. That's strange. I have no idea what to say to that. Don't know what you're talking about. Janie basically told us who the victim is. She said, who presses charges on someone when their children are missing. She said that much after um, a lot of people were talking about it. Hey, okay, so real quickly, you guys, this here, I brought up Canley earlier because I had this. We don't have the time today to go through this here, but it's a very interesting read if you're interested in it. Unchecked Power, the Constitutional Regulation of Arrest, reconsidered in 2003. Canley it's Canley, but I'm going to put the link to this article here on Canley. Very interesting. It's probably going to come in two. It is. Drat. Either way. Can I guess I can PDF it. Whatever. If anybody wants it, I can go back in and get it and maybe post it on my community page. But very interesting. Very interesting stuff. So before we end today, I'm going to show a video, kind of bringing into what we're going to start talking about with the missing people in Nova Scotia. A little bit of trafficking, may or may not be related to Jack and Lily's case. I don't know, but it's a conversation I think that needs to be had, and it's a very deep rabbit hole. So let's watch this video just as a prelude to some of the coverage we'll be doing going forward. Not all the time, but when stuff comes up, we'll watch this. So, or sorry, we'll cover this stuff. But for now, let's just watch this.
I think that was a terrible way to live my life, always in fear.
For several years, this woman was married to an RCMP officer. CBC agreed not to name her as she worries telling her story could put her in danger. RCMP investigators asked her to testify against her former husband. He faced disciplinary allegations, including domestic violence and sexual assault.
I was terrified.
That case is just one of 639 over the past decade that include gender-based violence disciplinary charges. CBC has found that less than half of these cases were proven and a significant number were dropped.
That is just the tip of the iceberg.
This professor examined CBC's research.
There's probably hundreds of other cases within this data set that we simply cannot conclusively say this is gender-based violence. I think that it's safe to assume that what we're reporting here is really that it's an underestimate, right? There's a lot more lying beneath the surface.
Any number is concerning to me.
The RCMP commissioner says the force made recent changes to its code of conduct. He notes cases such as sexual assault now go to tribunal where the force seeks dismissal.
We should be aggressive in our approach when we're dealing with conduct. There's a high expectation that's placed on law enforcement from the community, and we should be respecting that and hold people to account.
CBC found that roughly half of all proven allegations of gender-based violence resulted in what the force calls serious disciplinary measures, such as transfer or demotion. The RCMP investigation of this woman's husband didn't lead to dismissal. The allegations were not proven.
He got to go on with his life, but he was told to stay away from me. So I feel safer.
But she doesn't regret coming forward.
I would still do it again.
And I think it's time to definitely just shed light on the spouses and the families.
The commissioner says he knows there are still gaps and he welcomes any feedback on how to improve the system. Julie Ireton, CBC News, Ottawa.
Yeah, so I mean that's just it's disturbing. It's disturbing. Melissa, do you have anything else you want to add for today?
Yeah, I got a couple. oh, oh. So I've got a couple starred comments I wanted to touch on. Oh shoot, one of them went away. I wanted to touch on the one that we had starred earlier. But it got unstarred, so. I feel that they should not be allowed. They're too close to a possible suspect, not to mention the last search. And with what happened with the blanket. And I agree with not allowing family to search. But I also understand letting the family search. So it's hard for me to go and figure that out, because if you keep them from searching, and that's what I said the other day, like have cameras, because the defense can come back and say, well, they planted it, or they touched it, or they moved it, or whatever. I think it just opens them up to a lot of issues. The comment I wanted to say something to was about Janie, but I don't remember now exactly the comment.
Well, I thought we already
About
did. That's
Janie
why I'm
said,
sorry.
the person who lived there when your kids are missing, but that was a family member saying it, not a YouTuber saying it, if that makes sense. I don't mean to stick up for her there, but you know, she can say what she wants, but actually putting the name out there, saying it is one thing, but showing the proof of it and actually putting the stuff out there, for me, is different. If that makes sense. But I can understand, like I said, I can understand not letting family search, especially after what happened on the last one, with them. So I'm torn on that.
Yeah, fair. And I think that I mean that comment was made along the way, right? It wasn't like moments after the documents were received. But the bigger issue for me is how they were received. It's not even that they went out on YouTube or up on Patreon or whatever. It was like how did this happen? Who in the system sent those out? Because from my understanding, they were sent out as a PDF. So it's a problem. It's violating our laws and I mean, does that land on the YouTuber? Not to me. Like morally, I disagree, but legally, I think the person who sent them out is the person that should be held accountable for that legally, criminally. That's not right.
I
And no,
agree.
like nobody knows the date of the search or the area of the search. It's not being released to the public. I explained what I think is why. Um, just because they don't want members of the public going out there beforehand. They don't want people who are not signed up to search out there. But anybody is free to search anywhere they want if they have the permission of the landowner. You don't have to be part of Please Bring Me Home to go out and look for Jack and Lily or anything that might belong to them, or, just don't touch anything. Just take a picture of it, call the police. But go ahead, Belinda, or sorry, go ahead, Melissa, read Belinda's.
So Belinda said, I can say that the blanket is found doesn't have my DNA on it. I used a stick to open it. Well, you were smarter than the other searchers who picked stuff up and handled it with bare hands. Like that's the point I've been getting at is, either don't touch it at all or use gloves. But I mean, say, and Belinda, I'm not trying to be mean here, but say that bath mat, because we know where the blanket and the shirt came from. Say the bath mat was actual evidence. The defense can come back and say, well, how do we know that Belinda didn't plant it? You see what I'm saying? I have no doubt that you didn't plant it, right? Like, I know you didn't. But having family out there searching, or even let's say families out there searching and they come across the bodies of their loved one, that is something they will never forget, right? So it's hard for me to decide whether or not families should be allowed to search. I mean, I get where you're coming from, but I can also see the other side of it. So it's hard for me to make a determination of whether or not families should search.
There's one more starred comment from Belinda there if you want to hit on that. I'm just double checking chat.
So Belinda says, Lori, I was told I couldn't be there because I was taking M to court for guardianship. Okay, well, if we use that same logic, M is not cleared, right? So she shouldn't be out there. She shouldn't be out there searching, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, I want her to search, but that's where I'm torn. I agree with family searching, but I can also see why they wouldn't want family to search. So I'm really torn on allowing somebody to search. Now, let's go back to the last search and the drama that happened that was videoed and was shown. Like, those people should not be allowed to then search again. They caused drama on the last search. So if you cause drama, you don't get to go on the next one. There's consequences to your actions. Whether or not they were at fault really doesn't matter. I don't know. I'm torn. That's all I can say.
I agree. There, I mean, if one can, they all should be able to. Honestly, Daniel excluded. He is there has to be some kind of condition placed on him that he wouldn't be able to take part in something that certain family members are taking part in. I get that. But it's odd. It's strange to me, and it's also none of my business. I wish them all well, and I hope they stay safe. And it's a strange feeling to hope they find something and to pray that they don't find something. You know, it's not easy. So, in my opinion, the families can search every day if they want to, but in a search by a company, in my opinion, I don't think families should. Fair. And then if remains found, that would be traumatizing for the family. Yeah, absolutely. All right. And then just because I was over there, I missed all these comments, but I'm going to have to end it, you guys. I've got my supper on the stove and it's been 2.5 hours. So I think we did good today. We made good use of our time. I addressed the Larry Cameron situation. I whined about my life. Anyways, that's all I got for today. Melissa, say goodnight.
Good night, everybody. Prayers for Jack and Lily that they are found or something is found, but like Shar said, you also hope nothing's found. So it's really hard.
Absolutely. And we will see everybody here tomorrow. Not decided on the topic. If you have ideas, please send them my way. Have a great night, everybody.